Today on Don't Talk TV, we're going to take a quick look at the case of the Rainbow Association of Dryden versus Webster. That's the case where an individual was sued for defamation for calling a drag storytime groomers and was penalized with $380,000. Not a fine. I've seen some websites call it a fine, or some commentators call it a fine. It's not a fine, it's a civil remedy because he was sued, and that's the court order. So we'll take a quick look at that case today. Hello, my name is Nicholas Wansbutter. I'm a lawyer in Stratford, Ontario, Canada, and welcome to Don't Talk TV. I was actually considering taking a break and not doing an episode this week just because I've been so overwhelmed with work, with my day job, since I'm not a full-time YouTuber by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a full-time lawyer, but I didn't want to leave my viewers without content, without at least something this week. So we're going to take what I hope will be a quick look at the case that I mentioned, that being the Rainbow Alliance of Dryden versus Webster. As I said in the preamble, this is the infamous one. We've seen a lot of news stories about the $380,000 civil award that was given to that Rainbow Alliance. Again, I stress this wasn't a fine. This individual was not convicted in court. So that money is going to the Rainbow Alliance. It's not going to the government. Although it was decided by a judge, it was supposed to be a jury decision, but CBC had the actual decision linked on their website. So let's just go straight to the decision. We'll look at some highlights of that. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but we'll go through some of the highlights, and we'll, if I can find CBC's link to this, I just downloaded it on my computer, but if I can find their link, we'll post that. So this is the actual case, because I don't want to go with what people have had online. I don't want to go with summaries done by media, be it alternate media or mainstream media. I want to just go with the actual decision. So let's take a look at it here. So I mean, this is a decision. There's actually two groups that sued him. It was two cases that got combined into one because it was the same issue. So it was the Rainbow Alliance Dryden and Caitlin Harlan versus Brian Webster, and then also Felicia Crichton and John Marcel Forget and Brian Webster. Now, reviewing the original, the CBC articles, or some of the articles, it wasn't clear to me whether this individual had counsel. I'm glad to see that he did hire counsel, Mr. Jay Kitchen. Not particularly familiar with that lawyer, but I have heard of him before. So I'm glad that he had counsel to help him. Unfortunately, things didn't quite work out, but at least he had some good representation to try to make the argument. But the case comes down to where we are as a society, but also some of the things that he did. I've highlighted some of the things that I thought were really detrimental to his case. If we just scroll down here a bit after some of the preliminaries, where the court's describing the individuals involved and describing why they're using certain pronouns with certain individuals. Then they get into some of the posts that he posted. Some of them are maybe he could have gotten away with, where he's saying, ask yourself why these people need to perform for your children. Groomers, that's the agenda. Now, using that level of certainty in the language is something that, as you'll see later, got him hung up, because I say these are statements of fact, not statements of opinion. Perhaps if he'd couched it in kind of the lawyerly terms, in my view, this is for grooming, he might have been okay. But and you'll see that's why lawyers talk that way and make it clear when it is an opinion. Now, this is one that I think got him in big trouble in the case, because it went beyond just saying that I think these people are grooming. He claimed that certain of these people had been charged with criminal offenses and even convicted, which they never were. So he's saying City of Thunder Bay promoting deviant behavior to children. Thunder Bay City Council is so far in left field that they're promoting drag queen story time to young children in our city. Apparently, our city council is completely unaware of local drag queens who have been criminally charged with child pornography. And then he's talking about this TB, Lazy Watch, and CBC, local taxpayer subsidized news. They continue to hide child porn and pedophile arrests from the public. In fact, a senior TB Lazy Watch employee was just sentenced to 20 months in jail for making child pornography, uploading it through the internet. They refuse to tell the public about it. Ask yourself why they're trying to hide this. Read more on the local drag queen link below. So the problem is, this is in the context of him talking about the reading at the library, talking about have them avoid the library at Westfort today. Ask yourself why drag queens need an audience, grooming, and then he's talking about these charges. So the clear implication is that he's suggesting that the people who are doing the story time had received these charges, or in some way associated with the people who've been convicted. As the court says, the people that he's talking about, they were not associated with the plaintiffs or their event. So that's something that I think got him into a lot of... This is where things started getting problematic for him, because he's suggesting that people have been charged that haven't been charged. Now, I don't have time to go through the court's review of the law. It's interesting to educate yourself on how libel law works, libel and defamation law works in Canada, because we may see more of this. Also, as I'll talk about a little bit later, there's some individuals who are on the other side of things, the more conservative side, some might say, who are suggesting they might sue for being called extreme right-wing. So we'll have to see whether they can use this stuff to their advantage or not. And we'll, as I said, we'll talk about that. Now, I skipped past this, but another thing that I think caused problems for Mr. Webster is he gave a thumbs up to responses to his posts, such as, where can we get hunting tags to hunt these animals? So and then of course he did the argument that we see in a lot of these cases. So I've talked about hate crime cases where they say, well, when I said grooming, what I didn't mean grooming as in to sexually assault them the way it's used in criminal law. I used grooming to mean they're going to try turning them or convincing them to be gay when they grow older, and that I wasn't meaning to disparage them. That's dealt with here, starting at paragraph 201, and then they had experts, of course. Unfortunately, fortunately, whatever. It's just a matter of fact. You decide whether you think it's fortunate or unfortunate. But these two SLGBTQI groups, they have almost unlimited funding, it seems. They have tons of money. A lot of it coming from government grants. I don't know if it comes from other places. I'm not saying I know where they get all their money from, but clearly they have lots of money because they're able to fund this lawsuit. You'll see they had a lot of experts. Mr. Webster didn't have a lot of experts on his side, which isn't surprising because they'd be expensive, but also because it would be hard to find people willing to put their career in jeopardy. Anyway, so they say that calling them groomers cannot be fair comment because it perpetuates harmful myths and stereotypes about vulnerable members of society and not a matter of public interest. So, that's just, you may disagree with that, but it's a fact that is what the mainstream of Canadian society believes. That's what a judge is going to accept. That's what experts are going to testify. So you're going to run into trouble trying to say that that's not a myth or a stereotype, whether you believe it or not. They talk about fair comment. There has to be a factual basis. As I discussed, clearly people weren't even charged of certain things. And a statement of fact, such as an allegation of grooming, refers to criminal conduct which is verifiable and can be proven or disproven. And again, these people none of them have been charged with or convicted of criminal offenses involving children. So that's where he ran into some trouble there. It says his posts claim that the plaintiffs have an agenda to groom children and put them at risk of sexual abuse. These statements are expressed as statements of fact rather than statements of opinion. So they're not fair comment. So he couldn't rely on that defense as well. So that gives you a bit of an idea of what the case was all about. We'll we'll find the show, the link to it, and we'll put it in the show descriptions if you want to look at it in more detail. But those are some of the highlights and some of the things that I think caused a problem, is like really being that strident and putting things as fact, liking posts asking about, you know, whether we can get hunting tags to hunt these animals, the talking about pedophilia charges. I think that's a lot of what got him into hot water. And just with the law the way it is, I think that's what I'm commenting on. I'm not saying whether I agree or disagree with it. Now, this video is already longer than I thought it was going to be, but I just wanted to talk quickly about you looking at the other side. There's this YouTuber. I've never watched him, but my PR guy Richard pointed this out to me, that he's someone maybe a little more. I don't even want to say that I agree with anything this guy says, because from what I've seen in this video, I don't disagree, or I don't agree rather. I don't agree with some of the things he's talking about here. But just, I guess, someone who's not from the LGBT, whatever the current acronym is, you know, here's an individual talking about suing, because a lot of people are outraged that the LGBT people shouldn't be allowed to sue people. So let me show you what Premier David Eby said about this guy, and he's talking about suing. Do you think he should be able to sue? Do you think he should be successful? Do we want to live in a society where everyone on both sides can sue anyone anytime they say something that they don't like about them? So let's take a quick look at this.
But here's what Premier David Eby said about me earlier today.
And so that's good. He has some more work to do around members of his caucus that are expressing openly anti-Canadian perspectives, pro-Trump perspectives, and I would encourage him to not stop here.
It's about John Rustad.
His members reflect the values that we all have as Canadians, and I'll just cite a couple of examples. The fact that members of his caucus that are still there couldn't bring themselves to vote to condemn tariffs, to target Republican states, to be part of Team Canada, that they voted against that motion is a very troubling sign. The fact that Brian Tepper stood up in the House and introduced as a patriot a YouTuber that literally apologized to the United States for Canada's retaliation, who called Doug Ford's electricity tariff a war crime.
Nope. It wasn't his electricity tariff. It was removing or cutting off power to 1.4, 1.5 million homes. And I wasn't introduced as a patriot for making YouTube videos. If I'm not mistaken, was introduced as a patriot for being in the military, which is public knowledge.
You know, this was a man introduced in the legislature by a Conservative member as a patriot. So John's got some work to do if he wants to ensure that the extremist views in his party are addressed.
So that's what the Premier of British Columbia said. Sorry, I don't think I mentioned the name of the YouTuber. It's Mr. Sunshine Baby. We'll put the link to the episode in question in the comments box. At about the 14.5-minute mark, he shows a tweet that he put up, and where he said he's time to lawyer up, and he suggests he's contemplating legal action. So I rather than commenting on that myself, I'm interested in what my viewers think. Do you think that what the Premier said, whether he should pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for those specific words that we saw there? Do we want to live in a society where you can't say that level of thing? I guess calling someone extreme, whether that should be actionable. Do we want to live in a society? Because of course, keep in mind, both sides can do that, right? In the case we just looked at, it was the word groomers. But if someone said that it's extreme to have drag story time, do we think they should be allowed to be sued for that? Because I mean, sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. If Mr. Sunshine Baby were to be successful in saying that he was defamed by being called having extreme views, then the other side could sue for that. So I'd invite your thoughts. Please put them in the comment section below. Interested to see a discussion, and maybe we can do a follow-up video on that. Again, every time I say I'm going to do a short video, it's not a short video, but this video is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, call a lawyer. If you want to call me, my contact information is below. If you have any topics you'd like to see us cover, we've got my email address listed below for Don't Talk TV related inquiries. If you have a show topic you'd like to see us cover, please send us an email or leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you found this video at all interesting, helpful, or informative, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing. Follow us on social media. I think liking the video is, from what I've heard, is very important for the algorithm. So please consider doing that. And thank you for watching.